Hello and welcome to the Gooner Ramble podcast. I'm your host Giles, reprising the role of Master of Ceremonies as we pick over Wednesday night's disappointing 0-0 draw against the Saints. Joining me tonight to provide some context, some decent discussion, for the benefit of myself at least, is the man with the biggest black book in Arsenal's Twitter sphere, but Akhil, how you doing, mate? You alright?
Hi there. I'm not sure how much decent conversation you'll get, or debate or whatever the word is you use, but let's have a go.
Well, to bring up the IQ level and the debating level, discussion level in this podcast, we've got the People's Champion, the man with the most recognisable voice on the podcast, the man with the dulcet tones. I simply call him Coach. It's Mr. Clive. How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yep, I'm good. I'm ready to go. Can't wait.
Well, at least one of us is. All right, so Wednesday night, 0-0 draw against the Saints. Looking at the stats, 21 shots on goal, 11 on target. Favour Forster's had a worldie. He's made more saves in that one game than he has in the whole season or something. He had 10 saves. I think that was a record for the season. Arsenal are now down to fourth. Goal difference. Tottenham, who have got plus 10 goal difference. Leicester won with a worldie from Vardy. Man City continue to grind out results. Not very good, is it, at the moment, guys? I'm going to start with you, Akhil. You were there with me. We went to the game last night. What did you make of it? Do you think it was a tactical thing, or do you think it was a case of bad day at the office, or the goalkeeper was world class?
It's difficult. I think the goalkeeper was world class. He had a very, very good game. I thought, second half, I thought we played quite well. I thought we had our chances to win the game, and we should have won the game. But I think importantly is we didn't win the game, and that's, it's you don't look at this game as a one. You're sort of looking at the last few, perhaps. You're looking at maybe the last couple of years even. You don't take the game as isolation, because if it was just a one-off game, then it can happen and you'll probably, accept it that it happens. But I don't know what it is, but there's certain games, if you want to win the league, you just have to win. I thought we turned a big corner earlier in the year, actually, when we beat Newcastle. So earlier in 2016, on the 2nd of Jan, when we beat Newcastle with that Lauren Koscielny goal with about 7 minutes to go, or maybe even less than that. I thought that's the kind of, that's what we need to do. We need to get that goal. And I thought Koscielny I thought he did it again with that header. But there just seems to be, I don't know if it's the pressure. I don't know if it's, when the ball falls to Theo Walcott on the right and he's kind of in a bit of space. I don't know if in his head he just feels the pressure and he's scared of missing it. It's just, there's something there, and we'll probably go and win a few, but then you think we'll have this sort of game again where it's really frustrating, because Southampton, on the break they were okay, but generally we were okay. On another day we probably should have won 3 or 4-0, but when was the last time we won 4-0? So it's weird. It's weird. There's something's not right. We weren't fluid for me. Even though we created the chances, we weren't, as I said, fluid, the word I use, because we didn't flow much. It looked very painful, even though we were creating good chances. It was very painful. And I just don't know why.
Clive, Akhil dropped a key word there, pressure. It seems like we're playing with the weight of the world on our shoulders at the moment. We've come through the period where we had all the injuries and we've managed to sort of cling on to around the top spot with the eye teeth of our nails. Players are now coming back. We should have turned the corner, but 3rd game in a row we haven't scored. 4th game without a win. In your estimation, Clive, before we get into the intangibles, why can't we put away teams like this? Why can't we put away teams like Southampton?
I think Akhil touched on it, right? That word pressure. Where is it coming from? I think I sort of touched on it a few weeks ago on the pod. This self-imposed pressure that Arsenal are putting on themselves, right? So every single pundit is telling us this is our year. The Pep Guardiola thing that exploded this week is making everyone think, well, we've got to win it this year because we've got no chance next year. And I'm looking around at our opposition. Leicester are having a laugh. They're having fun. They're saying, no, we don't care if we lose our games. We're just having great fun up here. You're looking at Spurs, right? And normally with Spurs, they might end up like 2 points behind us, but their goal difference is poor. And let me tell you something, right? Spurs' goal difference is not poor.
Plus 10.
Right? On us, right? So they've conceded the least goals in the league. They've had the most shots on target in the league. They've conceded the least shots on target in their goal. Their goal difference is significantly better than ours. So if you guys are thinking Spurs are going to Spurs it, the trend is telling me that this time it's a lot more real than previous years. You look at Man City, right? Pellegrini's made a great move by coming out and saying, being much more in control of the progression to Pep Guardiola. He's come out and he's controlled that situation. He's controlled the mentality of the squad. And then we've got Arsenal fans putting pressure on ourselves. We've got players putting pressure on ourselves. And I think the biggest issue when I walk away from the game this week is not where Ramsey's standing or where Flamini's standing, but that mental pressure and repeat cycle that we're seeing. And I think for me, the mentality of the club is what I'm questioning. How we react under pressure moments, what we do when real pressure approaches or string of hard game approaches. And the repeat cycle is we don't deal with it very well. And I think that is the thing that many people are walking away with. And that's what the Groundhog Day feeling is. Why, when the moment comes, do we fail to fully deliver when it really counts?
It's a very good point. It's a very good question. Akhil, I mean, you're without trying to do you disservice, I think you're quite a positive Gooner, aren't you?
I wasn't last night.
Well, when you look at the trend,
so before you ask that question, I mean, what I think what was interesting for me was when we drew at Stoke and Stoke, Chelsea, in this game, all three. I was at all three, and at Stoke. People talked about it at the end, but Petr Cech was quite, he obviously had a great game at Stoke, but he was quite vocal. He was quite, came out and said the right things. He picked players up, and then against Chelsea again, when Koscielny had slumped to the ground, he picked him up, picked a few others up, and seemed to just be, come on. Yesterday, he seemed a bit disappointed. He seemed a bit, I don't know if this was the first sign of, are these not tough enough? Is he questioning? I don't think when I've been questioning, I don't think, he's questioning his future or questioning, but I just think there was a question mark in his head yesterday that, can we, in these sort of moments, can someone there make the difference? And I don't know. It's just, it was interesting to see him walk off. It was a bit, he wasn't the same as what he did against Chelsea and Stoke. But sorry, what was your question?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, following on from what Clive said about the Groundhog Day and the trend, the reason why so many, I suppose, not as positive gooners, I don't want to call them wobs or, negatives or pessimists, but the reason why they say we told you so is because we've been here so many times. We've been here in 2007-8. We've been here in 2010-11. We've been here in 2012-13-14. We don't know. We don't know if they're going to falter and stumble and fall out of the race this season. But the signs are there. The signs are there. And I look at this squad and there's a lot more winners in this squad than there have been in previous seasons. You've got Cech, who's highly decorated. You've got Per Mertesacker and Mesut Ozil, who are World Cup winners. You've got Alexis Sanchez, La Liga winner, South America Cup of Nations or whatever winner. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot. Sorry? Copa America, that's it, yeah.
Copa America.
Yeah, we talked about the spine at the beginning of the season and how much stronger we've become, but yet still that vicious circle, that mist, that stench comes over us and it looks as though we're just about to falter earlier than in previous seasons. The championship's out of our hands at the moment. We're not out of the championship race, but it's out of our hands at the moment. And people saying that we've got 14 games to go. We take it in blocks of this and we got to worry about what Man City do and we've got to hope that Leicester lose. For me, I think it's more a case of take each game as it comes now. You know, all we can do now is go to Bournemouth and try and do a job, pick ourselves up and try and do a job there. What do you see as the way forward in this title race?
I mean, it's certainly, you take every game as it comes. I think it comes back to that word pressure. You know, 2 years ago when Liverpool went on that run and you know, you could say should have won the league and certainly nearly did. The reason I think why they went on that run is because at the start of it, they were in a position where no one really had them down to even challenge for the league. And they were playing without pressure, very similar to how Leicester are now. They're playing without pressure. And sometimes you think it would almost be better if Arsenal didn't start very well and played catch up away from the pressure, and then just in the last few months really went for it, and maybe the pressure only comes in the last couple of 5 games, which is kind of what happened to Liverpool, and obviously they faltered. But you just think there's something there, and that word pressure is just it's weird because what your original question about people say that it happens every time, and I totally get that, but as you say, we have got winners in there. So that's what's different. You look at 2 or 3, was it 2 years ago when we kind of were leading the race, and it was actually around now, it was February the 8th, we went to Liverpool and we lost 5-1, and obviously momentum shifted and our season just collapsed after that. But, well, we won the FA Cup, but our Premier League season collapsed after that. The team now, I think, has those winners, as you said. It has players who are a little bit older, players who have played together a little bit more, so you would expect them to deal with the pressure a little bit more. But at the same time, the 2 FA Cups should have taught us stuff. We went to Old Trafford and won in the cup, which for us, winning at Old Trafford, that was a massive mental kind of step forward. I know we won at City, of course, that was the league, but the FA Cup was, maybe because we had won it the year before, there was slightly less pressure. I don't know, but it was a cup game. That pressure in the cup game, you can lose a league game and recover, but in a cup you can't. So I thought that was a turning point, more than even the City game to a certain extent, just because we dealt with the pressure that night. And then obviously we went on and won the league, but at the same time, I think I look at the Monaco game last year, where there wasn't that pressure because perhaps there was a bit of complacency, and it's a little bit of both. Where I think last night, I think we kind of, even though we're under pressure, at the same time we still think we're pretty good. We can win here, and I think it's a little bit of both. I wouldn't say we're not up for these kind of games, but we're sometimes not up for these kind of games, if you know what I mean. And then when you add pressure to that, it's tough. How do we take it from now? Just game by game. If I mean, to be fair, at the start of the season, if you had kind of said that, you'll be in this position, however many points we are behind and however many points we are in front, most people probably would have thought, that we're banging that. We're definitely competing. It's because of the position. When we beat Man City on the 21st of December, 5 points clear of Man City, that's when we really wanted our club to kick on. And if we had kicked on, that momentum would have hopefully just carried on and on. But because we kind of stumbled a bit, the Southampton on Boxing Day, and then we obviously won the next few, but then the Liverpool, Stoke, Chelsea stuff, we've kind of just, that advantage we had, we've certainly lost, and we've probably gone backwards. So I think it's just a matter of just grinding out, the next game or two, going to Bournemouth, just really grinding it out. Even if it's a 1-0 with an own goal, it doesn't matter. You fight. We want these players to really fight, and there are fighters in that team. We've seen that different parts of the season. We've seen Ramsey fight. We've seen sort of, Gabriel fight, for example. We know Koscielny knows how to fight. I think Olivier Giroud can, on his day, really fight. I just think, we need our players to really step up for the next game or so. And if we can, get a win against Bournemouth, we've got a week until Leicester. Leicester play City. The points, look slightly different. And then we go into that game against Leicester, perhaps with a bit of momentum, with a little bit of a buzz, then it's up to maybe fans to get the atmosphere up. And that's the thing I fear about Sunday, 12 o'clock. It's going to be really tough, but that's all we can do. Just go game by game. And that Bournemouth game is huge. It's an absolute huge game. We drop points there and you can just see us just losing to Leicester or drawing to Leicester and just going. Yeah. And it's such a big game on Sunday. And, I just hope our players can really get up for the fight because they should be. There's an opportunity to win a league title. And these players are good enough to win that league title. They are good enough. They just need to stick together, play together, and just fucking win the game. It's what they got to do.
I want to bring a question. First of our questions tonight. It's from @Zeus_Cannon. They ask, do we really need to start games with such caution and respect for the opposition? Do you think that was the case? I'll start with you, Clive. Do you think that was the case? Do you think we were a bit too cautious? Because the first half on Wednesday night was awful. I mean, apart from the fact that if Ozil would, concluded the fantastic touch and bring down of that pass from, I think it was Alexis Sanchez, and scored, I think the outcome of the game, the complexion of the game would have changed. But, outside of that, do you think that we did start in a malaise, in some sort of trance? We allowed Southampton to sort of like set their stall out and break us up and kind of knock our rhythm?
Yeah, I think we started the game with a lack of conviction, right? So we get our touches, we move the ball around, we all get our touches, and we all feel good on the ball, right? So Arsenal, you heard me say before that Arsenal are a team of flow. So you get most teams, they play for moments. Like Chelsea are a team of big moments. They fight, they scrap, they win the big moments, they earn their wins that way. Arsenal, when we're successful, we are a team of flow, right? So the first thing we do is try to get a rhythm going. If we score early, then we tend to push on and do very well. Some of those early chances, I felt we lacked a bit of conviction in our finishing, but we thought, hey, everything's going to be okay. Well, you know what? After Christmas, it's not always so easy. The pressure mounts up, and I think the pressure mounts up, right? So it comes back to the mentality of the club to me. I always say you're a product of your environment. So the manager's job is to create a football environment. And those sort of success criteria within that environment says to you what you can and can't do. And Arsenal has been a club over recent years where it's okay not to win. But the excuses now are running out, right? We've got money in the bank, the bills are paid, we've got new revenue streams, and we've had a couple of big signings. So the environment's changed, right? So we now have to win. The expectation is higher. And I'm wondering if these players who've always had to finish fourth as a sign of success can actually handle the expectation being put on them by the fans, by the media, by the pundits, by everybody that's saying this is Arsenal's time, right? So, and when they get into this moment, they realise, crikey, we should be winning. We go from a lack of conviction and malaise into desperation and panic. And that means we start to snatch at our chances. So early on, it was lack of conviction. Later on, it was a bit of desperation in our finishing. And a lot of it is self-imposed. And a lot of this comes, from my opinion, comes from the leadership culture at the club and what you're allowed to do in that environment. And for me, I think we're going for a fundamental mentality change. And Akhil, when you mentioned Old Trafford, I bet the first thing you felt when you walked out of that ground was, now we've beaten Manchester United away. That's got to change our mentality. We'll be fine in these big games now.
Yeah,
it doesn't work. It hasn't worked for Chelsea. We still managed to turn into meek little children. And then the week after, who do we roll out in front of the press? We roll out Theo Walcott to say, we're going to give it back to Southampton. We're going to repay them back. I don't know about you guys, but I wouldn't choose Theo Walcott to fight my battles. Right? I wouldn't send him out. I would send out somebody that maybe someone's going to fear. Someone who's scored more than 80 goals in 10 years, right? Someone who, not just talks a good game, but plays a good game consistently. And that whole weakness about our mentality is what people move on. And they say, and that's why they don't trust us to go and deliver. And so as fans, we really want it to happen. But let's be honest, do we really trust it? What's our evidence? do we really trust when the big moment comes we're going to actually do it? We haven't shown it for years, right? So that's the challenge for me. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to reset our mentality as a club so that when these moments come, they fall on our side. Because I've seen too many goalkeepers have man of the match performances. And when you look at those chances, we should have won that game by 3. Right? That's down to sloppiness, lack of conviction, and a lack of bravery by some people in some of those moments to actually do the job. Right? But, so that's my issue. I don't think it's about tactics. I don't think it's about who plays on the right. I don't think it's about who plays up front, who plays centre half. This is about our mentality in the club, right? And that, Akhil, probably why Peter Cech was a bit cheesed off, right? He's thinking, man, these guys need to shape up because they're good enough, but do they actually believe they can deliver? And I really doubt that.
All right, Akhil, sorry, Akhil, talking about the mentality and certain things that we're seeing recently and what that symbolises about the club. We take a couple of weeks ago, Chelsea, Theo's 10th year. I didn't realise after he bled them out that he actually had the captain's armband. He's in the centre circle. He's swapping whatever they call them, crescents or flags or whatever they call them, with the Chelsea captain. Chelsea captain's nearly crushed his hand. Doesn't send the right signal. It probably doesn't change the outcome of the game, but it doesn't send the right signal. Wednesday, in the tunnel before the game, I'm hearing that Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain is dancing in the tunnel before the game. Imagine being under Tony Adams' watch, or even more recently Patrick Vieira's watch, and seeing somebody do that when you're coming out to battle with, I don't know, Man United, Roy Keane or whoever. It doesn't send out the right signals. It doesn't seem like we're serious about what we're supposed to be. Do you agree with that, or do you think that people have made too much of those two instances and are reading too much into it, and things aren't as bad as what people say?
I think what you say is spot on. Actually, I think step by step. So the first bit about sort of Walcott being captain for the day. For me, it's not a friendly, it's not a testimonial. We're going for a league title. We're a professional football club. I at the same time, I don't think it made a difference to the result or of the performance, or it doesn't actually make much of a difference. But I just think that mentality, I just don't see the point of it. As much as people have obviously given Theo pelters recently, I still think he's a good player. I still think he'll come good. But captaincy 10 years, it's irrelevant. It's absolutely irrelevant. And that's something that I did find quite bizarre, because every time Arsene Wenger has an anniversary, whether it was 10 years, 15 years, etc., he always seems to brush it off and says that when they say, how will you celebrate? What's the most important thing? He says the next game, 3 points. On, I think it was his 60th birthday or 65th birthday, there was a few journalists that kind of had a bit of a whip round and got him a nice bottle of wine. And even though he was very appreciative of it, he was kind of, as soon as he got it, he said thank you, and then that was it. He kind of wanted to talk about the game and wanted to focus on the game. So you think, if that's what he believes, which is the right thing to do, why then has he given Theo Walcott the captaincy for the game? Do you think
he's allowed the players to sort that out between themselves?
I don't know, but I mean, with someone like Petr Cech, Per Mertesacker, do you think should they allow that? The answer is no. You talked about sort of this Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain thing. I remember the good example when Jens Lehmann came back for that, that short spell when he played away at Blackpool and stuff. And one of our favourite Danes, Nicholas Bentner, was here, and he wore a cap into training, and I think he had it on in the sort of the changing rooms. And Jens Lehmann took the cap off and just threw it somewhere. And Nicholas Bentner said to him, "What are you doing? Things have changed around here since you were last here." And Jens Lehmann said, "They're changing back." That's the sort of character you think, a proven winner that you think people will listen to. But I think Arsene Wenger does, and as much as I love him and respect him and stuff like that, I think he does I wouldn't say he's obsessed by it, but he does like this happy atmosphere. Which is, there is a bit of truth in that, cohesion, the sort of everyone gets on with everyone, no divides and stuff like that, which I think is fine when things are going right. So when we beat Man United 3-0 and when we went to Leicester and won 5-2 and when we beat Bayern Munich at home, that sort of atmosphere is great. It's great. The momentum builds. It's brilliant. But when things start going wrong and a few results like the Stoke, like the Liverpool, like the Chelsea, like yesterday start happening, that's when that kind of good cohesion, that good atmosphere, no divides, actually is a negative. And that's when you need that sort of Jens Lehmann type person to think, you know what, Tony Adams or Patrick Vieira, Martin Keown, you name them, just to think, I don't give a shit who I upset. I really could not give a shit who I upset because I want this league title. It doesn't matter. If I fall out with him for a few days, fuck it. As long as we get 3 points on Sunday, that's all that matters. We'll be friends again then. As long as we win, we'll be friends. And that sort of mentality, I think, is a little bit lost. I know I've got sort of off the point a little bit, but you've kind of...
I think you make a good point, though, Akhil. I think you make a good point because since we've become happy-clappy, we've not won any... Well, we haven't won a league title. We haven't, maybe William Gallas and the Nasri and the Van Persie and the Fabregas era was the end of that sort of confrontational era, if you want.
See, there for me, so I think Nasri was just a bit of a prick, to be honest. But I think someone like Gallas, I think he was quite misunderstood. I thought, he came from, he played for Chelsea where he just started winning. He came here bringing that mentality with him. And he had that mentality where he didn't really care who he upset. He just wanted to win. And that famous day in Birmingham, obviously he reacted maybe wrongly and stuff. And he took it a bit too at heart. But he knew that's the sort of game where you keep your cool, you win it, and then you go back, back home with the 3 points. I think Gallas upset a few people because a lot of the young players we had were just not used to that. I think there was a lot of other things with Gallas. He didn't quite get on with Toure, and how could you sort of have a partnership that doesn't talk to each other? But I thought Gallas was misunderstood, to be honest, and I think since then, you're right, we haven't quite had that sort of, even Petr Cech, you would think he's quite strong mentally, but he seems quite a nice bloke. He doesn't seem that type to...
He's not a layman who'll just go into the dressing room and shake things up.
Yeah, you can't see him not getting on with anyone. You can see them respecting him for the right reasons, but you can't... I don't know.
Go on, Clive, what to say?
I don't mind the players being nice, right? I actually quite like this group of players, right? But for me, it's your football ability under pressure that bothers me. And that's really important that we differentiate ourselves as footballers, right? There's a huge leveling out in the Premiership, right? I noticed it about 2-3 years ago when West Ham suddenly speeded up and every team is quick, every team is strong. Wenger's best era, we were the tallest, strongest, fastest team. Right? We were the fittest team. There wasn't anybody like us, right? We reinvented midfielders. We had pace to burn up front, and we were different. We ate different, we trained different, we were different. Now everybody is the same. Everybody understands what sports science really is. So you have to differentiate yourself by what Wenger's chosen: high technical ability, a high level of cohesive play, playing through the thirds, keeping the ball moving, a highly technical team built by creative players that don't match the era before. But when Arsenal play through the team, there's no one that can touch us. Teams have to drop off. But what teams are doing is they are starting to interrupt that flow, right? And I saw Adrian Clark say something the other day. It was really interesting. He said, at an average game, I think it's around 61 minutes of balls in play. When that goes down to like 52, 51 minutes, Arsenal don't win those games. And what that tells me is that the opposition is slowing the game down, breaking up the flow, making lots of fouls, letting people like Lee Mason get away with those fouls. And these are differentiator moments, right? And we have to decide how we react to these moments of adversity. And that's what I question. I question that. I don't mind.
Doesn't that mean that we can have all the ability in the world, but if you don't have the heart, that sort of true grit to actually, get stuck in. We never like Gary Neville. We don't like Diego Costa. We don't like players of that ilk. But those are the kind of players you need in your team to galvanise that kind of spirit, don't you think? Do we have enough of that?
Akhil, you said it right. When we were beat Bayern Munich and when we beat Manchester United and played the most perfect 20 minutes I've ever seen in my life, not one person said anything about lack of leaders or mentality or anything like that. What I look for is a trend, right? So there are points in the season when the pressure's on. I don't think we react well, right? So our heights are high, but I'd like to see us react better. Now, I don't think we were far off last night. If you look at those chances, we weren't far off. What bothered me more was probably the first half and how we started the game. And you have to sort of, control your own destiny. And you start the game hard and fast and you take it away from people. And then you create less stress later on. I felt we started the game very slack. Right? And so we're not young anymore. This isn't Denilson we're watching. This is Ramsey. He's 25. This isn't 19-year-old Denilson and Cesc Fabregas playing against PSV Eindhoven in the Champions League and getting knocked out. This team is not kids anymore. These are people in the prime of their careers. So this concerns me a lot more than it used to. So that tells me it's a product of the environment. In this environment, it's okay not to win. And that needs to change. It really does. It needs to change because that's what fans are talking about today. And once you create that gap with the fans, you're in trouble.
Can I ask you guys a question? We've got a question here from @Lay_Nikolai. And he asks, do you agree that Wenger's biggest strength is the trust he has in our players, but also could it be his biggest weakness? I'm going to start with you, Clive, and then come to Akhil after.
Again, I think, things like, we can all come up with 5 or 10 players that he's kept too long that haven't quite delivered. But can also come up with another 5 or 10 that we thought were rubbish that he kept too long that have delivered. Right? So I think it's part of the environment that he creates, right? So is he ruthless enough? Now that's a different question, right? Is he ruthless enough? And I think he sees Arsenal as a long-term project. He's not going anywhere. So he builds pathways to playing. He builds individuals. He builds good footballers that he likes being around. When you get those 2-3 year managers, I don't think they care about the balance and the chemistry of the dressing room. They care about the next 3 points. So we have to decide as fans, what do we prefer? And there are many fans that don't give a monkeys as long as we win the next game. Don't care if our manager is the most classiest, intelligent guy in the league has been there 20 years. All they care about is the next 3 points, right? They normally care about that when we've lost. But I actually do care about the longer term. But what I want to see is a little bit more accountability, particularly for some of our young English players. I want to see them be a lot more accountable for their performance, a lot more hungry to get into the side and not be happy to be on the bench. I want to see just a 10% uptick in drive to basically win the game. That's what I think. I think we're just a little bit off. And at the moment, the fans almost want it more than the players, and that can't be right. They should be leading the drive on this, right? And we should be looking at them thinking they really want this. Bit unlucky, but I'm not sure that they want it more than us.
Okay. Let's move the discussion on to, we've got another question here. I want to move it on to a guy called @JaceAFC tweeted me, and he came up with a couple of statistics. And he said that we've had 7 games this season where we failed to score. Okay, so you want to call them 7 bad days at the office if you want. Under Wenger's tutelage or stewardship, the most games we failed to score was 10, and that was in 1998-99 and 2000 and 2001, closely followed by 9 games in 1997-98 and 2005-06. Obviously, in 97-98 we won the double. We're on 7. It's February. Yeah. I know we've discussed it already, but isn't that a worrying trend for you? Isn't that a worrying statistic, should I say?
We're not scoring enough, that's for
We're
sure.
not scoring enough. We've only scored 37 so far this season. We're dependent on Giroud very much. I mean, Welbeck's not back at the moment, is he? Theo's out of form. We're not getting enough from output from Ramsey, who bases his whole game on scoring goals. Mesut Ozil doesn't score enough. I mean, I know we know he assists, but he doesn't score enough. We've had Alexis Sanchez has been out for a little while. I don't know how many he's scored, but he's not scored that many. Campbell's only scored 2 or 3. There's not enough goals coming from enough departments, is there? And it's showing because now we're dependent on our only one recognised striker. And if he goes off the boil, then we go off the boil.
And the one recognised striker is not even that sort of, the 25 goal striker you see others have, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think there was certainly a bit of a change in mentality. I think firstly, Arsene Wenger's always believed in goals from sort of all over the pitch. I can't remember where it was, but there was some sort of a Q&A, and this was a good 10 years ago sort of thing, where he was talking about that, we have Thierry Henry at the time, but we still want goals from Pires, from Ljungberg. We want, Vieira to come up with a few, obviously Bergkamp at the time. I expect my centre-backs to chip in with, 7 or 8 between them kind of thing. And it seemed like that was fine because we had Thierry Henry getting 20, 30 goals anyway. So it was kind of, it was a lot easier. But when that striker then disappears and then there's even more reliance and then the word pressure again, there's pressure now on those wide players, on the midfielders to actually score goals. Whereas before, the pressure perhaps wasn't as there because we had such a worldie in Thierry Henry that we knew he would score enough. I think where we have been slightly unlucky is at the start of the season, you would have thought Alexis, Theo Walcott and Aaron Ramsey would have probably scored more than they have. And obviously a few injuries to Sanchez and Walcott have maybe stopped them. Ramsey's been kind of played on the right and then played in the middle, and obviously perhaps has had to do a bit more defensive work recently. But I think it is a concern. I think it really is a concern, and I think I think the club saw that, which is why they did want Luis Suarez quite badly, because they sort of maybe they didn't see exactly this stat coming. But I think they could see that, we're coming into a situation where Sergio Aguero can just rescue City. He can just do something and he can just, like yesterday, they won 1-0 with an Aguero, with a great touch from Aguero and instinctive kind of finish. That's sort of special elite worldy, what they can do. So I think we did want Suarez for that reason. I just think it's one of those where I honestly believe that the club do want an elite striker to kind of change that, but they just haven't been able to find one. Not many have moved. If you take Aguero out, then suddenly Boney's City's second choice striker. So I think other people are suffering as well. Tottenham can get a striker in. So I have a bit of sympathy there. But, with all that, you have to then try and get the best out of the players you've got. And that means, I think Theo Walcott is a goal scorer, but for whatever reason, at the moment, he's not scoring. So the effort should be going into seeing, okay, why is he not scoring? What can we do to make him score? What can,
Can I ask you a question, Ash? Can I ask you a question, Ash? Do you see him as a striker now, or do you still see him as a forward winger, or whatever the term is?
Well, this year, his best performances have been up front. And, I think the 2 games, I mentioned them earlier when I was talking about when things go right, but Man United at home and Leicester away, where, his movement was great. He was stretching, even Bayern Munich at home, I think he's a massive confidence player as well, though, at the same time. But I think this year, certainly, he's played better up front. But why I think he's a confidence player is I think he can play just as effectively out wide, but he needs to be on his game. He needs to be confident. When he's not confident, it just doesn't kind of happen for him. And that 5-2 game against Tottenham, a couple of years ago, in the first half, he was getting pelters from the crowd, and he just needed something to go for him. And obviously he scored the first, then he scored the second, and then we went to Anfield and won, then we beat Newcastle where I think he might have scored, but he suddenly then became confident again, and it doesn't matter if he was playing up front, out wide, he was confident, before his ligament injury, he was confident and he was playing up front, for most of it, but he did play out wide as well. And that Newcastle game where he scored a hat-trick, he started up front, but then he ended the game out wide, and he got an assist out wide for Giroud, who came on and scored a great header and a great cross from Walcott. So that game sort of highlights it, that when he's on his game, when he's confident, it doesn't matter where he plays, if it's out wide on the right or out or through the middle. But I just think he's a confidence player, and at the moment his confidence is shot, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain's confidence is shot as well, but I think Walcott's getting there as well. Something needs to go for him, and to be honest, we need him to score goals, because that's the player I look at to think, Sanchez I expect will score a few more, but we do need Walcott to get goals, so our efforts need to go into getting him back to where he should be.
Mate, Clive, I'll bring the question over to you. Go ahead, Clive.
There is no evidence that we can trust Theo Walcott to deliver, right? There is just no evidence. Right, we've had a good look at him now for 10 years. Yep, he's been through a few injuries, and we can all make excuses about this, that, and the other. There is no sustained evidence, and his high moments are fleeting moments in time. And I do remember Leicester, and he was brilliant in that game. I do remember his goal against Man City. He was really good. He played left midfield and he covered Sanchez. Well done. You tell me other moments this season. Right? That's not enough. He's our second highest paid player in the club. It's not enough. Where's the accountability? It's not enough to say, his confidence is shot. Why is his confidence shot? He lives in a lovely house, he's got a lovely family, he lives 5 miles from the training ground. He plays one of the best clubs in the world and a lovely training centre and a beautiful ground. Why is his confidence shot? The manager loves him. His players love him. He doesn't have to win. He just has to find different ways to spend his money. Why is his confidence shot? And that's it. It's not enough. We got to ask these players and expect them to deliver. It's not enough to cosset them. It's too much like a creche. And this is where the mentality is coming in. And this is why we're seeing the repeat cycle. We got to change that, right? And we got to say to ourselves, is this enough? And is our manager driving these players enough? Well, I happen to know that there's no one in that training ground. When Arsenal lose, no one always wants to talk to the manager. He's that mad. He cared more than anybody else. So I'm not blaming him, but I'm wondering if we need a reset. And normally you reset things by adding people to an environment. Do we need a mental reset so we change the environment in some way? So you're talking, Axe, about players of the past. And the common theme with those players you mentioned is their mentality, right? And so I'm questioning the mentality of some of our leading lights, our 26-year-olds in the peak of their careers who haven't won the league yet. They need to go and win it, right? And by side-footing one in the last 5 minutes with no conviction, that's not telling anybody anything, right? That's just telling me you're scared to miss. You're scared to miss. You're just trying to hit the target. And you can't con fans. They can see it. They can see the fear. They can see the fear in people's eyes, right? And I'm not prepared to look at it and say, well, you know what? I'm now ready to wait for Theo Walcott to come through. I'm using him as almost like a totem pole for the weakness in mentality, right? He is that leading figure for me. He epitomizes what's brilliant about Arsenal, the quality of individual, the class of the individual, the way he behaves, what's super professional. But he doesn't have to win. He plays for England, he picks up his money, everything's okay. Well, to me, when you get top money, there's a level of accountability, right? And that's what allows you to sustain that top money. I don't mind him getting that top money, but start to do something now to move us to the next level. If you're not prepared to, then he needs to be held accountable, right? And people like him need to be held accountable. Every time Arsenal have a bad game, Mesut Ozil's held accountable. Why is he held accountable and not other people? Right? I think it needs to change. I really do.
I think.
Do you want to come back on that?
I think what I was saying about, what I was saying about Walcott was, I wasn't implying we can rely on him. What I was implying is, a little bit of, we're kind of saying the same thing actually, just in different ways. Where you said that you're sort of not prepared to wait for him, that's kind of what I meant in terms of this now should be his time. This is his chance to help Arsenal win a league title. That's what I meant by we need Theo Walcott to start playing, because and this, it comes down to maybe ability a little bit and potential there, and it should be potential to 26, but just the fact that, you know, he's got that pace. I believe he can finish. This is where he has to prove it. Where I get that bit of evidence kind of from is, I think it was the 2011-2012 season when we had just lost Fabregas and we had lost Nasri. That was, I think Walcott then felt, I'm actually a big player. I think he that summer he kind of grew a little bit and thought, alongside Robin van Persie, he's actually one of the leading sort of players.
Yeah. And
that year we got drawn in the Champions League playoff to Udinese. We beat Udinese at home 1-0. Theo Walcott scored. We then went away, and that was when Wojciech Szczesny saved that penalty and stuff. Theo Walcott scored away as well. And that away game was probably one of the most stressful games, because I honestly believe we were going to go out, and I thought it was going to be, you know, that was when, just before the 8-2, I thought that was curtains. If we hadn't got many players in, I think we were waiting to qualify before we had our little supermarket sweep, and I thought that was curtains. And for the first time, I saw Theo Walcott step up, and in both legs he was effective, and he made the difference. That season, I think he scored about 17 goals. Obviously Van Persie got all the headlines, but I honestly saw something in Theo Walcott that season. But admittedly, I probably haven't seen it since, and that's the problem. We've seen it in glimpses, as you said, which isn't good enough if you want a league title. So that's what I mean. I'm not saying we can rely on him, but I'm saying I've seen enough to think he needs to push himself. He needs to believe in himself a little bit more, and he needs to step up to the plate, because I honestly believe he's a good player, but he needs to start showing it. And of course, that does come down to mentality. That does come down to when you get a chance, as you said, not being scared to miss. You know, because I do get that. I think that comes with pressure. You're suddenly scared to miss. You know, yeah. I often play 7-a-side, and it gets quite competitive. And often, you know, I'm not one of the best players, but there's a time where I'm just thinking, I might play the simple passing because I don't want to give it away, because I know my players are going to shout at me. Perhaps at Arsenal people don't shout at each other, but you get my point.
Confidence.
So I think it's that confidence. Yeah. If I've just scored a goal, then I think, you know what, I'll pick this pass because I might actually, you know, pull it off. But when your confidence isn't there, there's pressure there. I think, I'm not sure if he believes in himself at the moment. That's the thing. And, you know, you put money to one side and all that. That's, I wouldn't say it's irrelevant, but it's just different. But I just think, you know, I've seen enough on him in that one season to think he can make a difference this year. He hasn't shown it yet. He needs to.
Let's move the conversation on now. We've talked about yesterday's game and the mentality issues. Let's move the conversation on to going forward and the general sense. I've got two questions here from two people. I've got one from at Tika, he's Jax Joseph anyway, and he asked, what would be the best midfield pairing while we wait for Santi's return? And also, Walid Omer 159 asks, which centre midfield partnership should we use for the rest of the season? He reckons Coquelin and Ramsey. Come to you, Clive, because you've been waiting for a while to get your chops going.
No, I think Coquelin and Ramsey, it sounds good on paper, but there's an issue there I see, right? So the reason why the Coquelin-Cazorla partnership works really well is because Santi Cazorla makes it work, right? What he does is he takes his position off of Coquelin. He says to Coquelin, you patrol the middle, I will take my position off you. So if you feel as though you want to press high and engage, I will sit behind you and build the game from deep. If you feel you want to, when I push forward, you want to sit deeper, I will then go forward and play higher. And they work as a partnership. They defer to each other, knowing their roles. When I watch Aaron Ramsey, his partner always has to defer to him and defer to what he wants to do. right? So, because he wants to break free and go forward. So everyone can't wait to see his Coquelin and Ramsey thing. But I'm actually concerned about any partner playing with Ramsey until Ramsey changes his game and respects the area of the pitch that he's picked to play in. Right? So that's my problem there. So I wouldn't pick Ramsey in centre midfield. I'm looking at
Clive, just to come in there, it's a question because I think you're better at analysing stuff like this. I'm more that sort of come on Arsenal sort of supporter. But 2 years ago when Arteta and Ramsey played, and we were obviously top of the league for however many days, people keep telling us. Do you think that worked, and why? I'm not saying it did. I'm not saying it didn't. But I'm just curious to see what
the reason why that worked a little at the time, and it didn't really work because we didn't win any big games, right? So what we did is we beat all the poor teams. And when it came to the cup final, Ramsey was tremendous for 3 months before Christmas. Make no doubt about it. He went away in the summer. He trained himself, got a personal trainer, went to Asia, come back as fit as you like. And until West Ham, he was the best player in the country. And athletically, he was supreme. He was strong, and he scored goals. So when you're scoring goals, no one's looking at where you're standing and how far forward you are, because you're scoring goals and we're winning games. Exactly, right? No one cares that. When we're not winning games and we're not scoring and people are having shots on us, then people look at where you're standing, right? And how you're playing and how you're benefiting the team. The reason why Arteta does quite well is that he can receive the ball off his back four and he can receive it on the half turn and he can move it. Flamley can't do that. So Flamley puts himself in positions between the centre-backs where he becomes an extra player, but then he just moves it sideways or backwards. So we're not building. And what Ramsey has to do is recognise that and come closer to help Flamley build, help the team build through the thirds. So I'm if we're going to put someone, I actually would prefer Ramsey to be freer and to be in areas where he likes to be, but not have the responsibility for structuring the team. So I wouldn't pick him centre midfield for Arsenal. No way. Not at any point would I pick him centre midfield for Arsenal. And that's a big statement, right? But I just don't think in a two, he's the one. When we play 4-3-3 and he's allowed to run free and use his athleticism and marathon running ability, then absolutely fine. In a 4-2-3-1, for me, he plays on the right, or he doesn't play at all.
Can I ask you guys a question, both of you? You both saw El Nene the other day, debut against Burnley. Did the simple things very well. Very high pass success rate. Just ping it long and short. Has a shot on him. Do you see somebody like El Nene as somebody that the defence can actually give the ball to with confidence, knowing that he can then distribute it on? Obviously not in the Cazorla kind of mold, because I don't think there's anybody like Cazorla at the club that can do what he does, but alleviate the pressure on the defence, set plays going forward like Arteta does so well. Do you see something? Do you see there could be a role for someone like Nene if he develops as we hope he can?
Yeah, I do. I think as soon as you see him play, right, he receives the ball on his back foot and he pushes it forward, and then he supports the run. His support run. He's not running past the ball. He's running. It's like an underlap, you call it, right? So he underlaps the ball. He doesn't, and then he only goes past the ball to create space for others. His whole body movement says, "I'm a centre midfield player that wants to control the area," right? So, and I looked at him and I thought, yeah, you know his position. Now he lacked a bit of body power on his upper body, and he probably wasn't used to some physical challenges, right? But what he did is he got it and he popped it and he supported and he raised the pace of the game on occasion, and he had a presence. So I looked up and I looked at it and I thought, I can see my centre midfield. I can see them. And then that's it. When you're picked to play in the middle third, you've got to control the middle third. And I thought him and Coquelin controlled that game. I know the opposition wasn't high, but I could see something there. And then what I saw last night, it was 5-0-5. That's what we were watching, right? And that's not conducive to any sort of cohesive unit.
Akhil, I want to bring you back in quickly. Do you think Ramsey's a centre midfielder in this setup?
You know what?
Is he your choice?
I got to put my hands up and say I'm just not qualified enough to kind of to judge. I was fascinated listening to Clive there because he certainly sounds like he knows what he's talking about, and he probably does. You know, that was the fascinating thing, that he actually made me believe and made me think about it a little bit more. You know, you know what? I don't know. I don't know. I think I've been a victim of one of those who has heard Steven Gerrard say Aaron Ramsey when he's on his day is the best central midfielder in the country, and thought, oh, you know, Steven Gerrard's saying it, then it must be true, you know, because Steven Gerrard was one of the best. So it's just, you know, I don't know. I think what I do see is what I do see, and I saw last night, I've seen it before, is when we used to break from the back, when our two centre backs have the ball, they were comfortable to give it to, you know, Coquelin, who could then turn with the ball, play a pass out, and usually Santi Cazorla would find those pockets of space just in front, as what Clive was saying, just play off him, and then Santi Cazorla obviously knows how to pick a pass. Whereas at the moment, you know, Flamini on the ball just isn't the same. He doesn't have that about him, and I kept seeing Ramsey going very deep to get that ball, turn around, and then kind of, you know, try and pick a pass. But with Ramsey, his strengths do seem, as Clive said, to be a little bit more free to make those runs into the box. You know, that run he made against Liverpool to score at Anfield a couple of weeks ago, that's the kind of, you know, that's Aaron Ramsey. So, you know, I think it's frustrating for a lot of people, getting frustrated seeing him on the right. It was working, because when we were playing well, Aaron Ramsey was playing on the right, and, you know, and Coquelin and Santi Cazorla were playing in the middle. So, you know, our best performances have come with Ramsey on the right. So it's difficult. I just don't know enough, I'm afraid. I'm just not that intelligent.
One last question to you guys before we wrap it up. Formation. Would you like to see us tweak? You know, maybe try a different formation in the upcoming weeks. I mean, last season when we went to Man City, the players decided, we all know the story. Fingers goes to 1-4-1-4-1. We get a result. Fingers change from what the system was when Arteta and Ramsey were playing to what the system is now. Do you feel that there is a space for Wenger to change it? I mean, he doesn't play 4-4-2. He'd like to play 4-4-2. Doesn't think he's got didn't think he had the personnel to play 4-4-2. Can we do it now? Clive, very quickly. Can we do it now? Do you think he would do it?
I think he's tried a few formations right this year. He's tried to Callum Chambers in midfield. He's tried to 4-3-3 with, say, Chambers and Oxlade-Chamberlain and Ramsey tucked in. I quite like that, but it means playing without a 10. But the way Ozil played last night, he played like a number 9 anyway. I think it's time to get, at some point, we've got to say to ourselves, our two best players are Ozil and Sanchez, right? Have we got to tweak our formation so they're higher up the pitch? Because last night, Sanchez was playing almost a Ramsey role. He was coming deep and he was playmaking. And we want our main man a lot higher, right? So to get closer to the goal. And I'm all for a 4-3-3 and getting Ozil, Sanchez and Giroud, our best hopes of goals, let's be honest, right? Get them higher at the pitch. And then it doesn't restrict Aaron Ramsey in a middle two where he's got to provide structure. He can break forward and there will be two other people around him to cover him. So I think you're plumbing for a 4-3-3 more, because some people have said 4-4-2. We should go to a 4-4-2. It works for City. It worked for Leicester. Can it work for Arsenal? No, he's never done it, right? He's never really done it consistently. And so after 20 years, I don't see him really, doing that now. Not since Big S arrived, but he has tweaked the option with the 4-3-3. And, I think potentially when it comes to the crunch, you want your best players in the right areas of the pitch, right? So, so for me, I'll tweak it slightly.
Okay. Akhil, quickly, yourself.
What Clive said about Ozil and Sanchez, player formation that gets the best out of them. I remember Adrian Clark when someone suggested to him, someone who obviously analyses games for Arsenal.com and all that, when they said, would you move us and would you change it for him out wide a little bit more and stuff, and his answer was no. You know, he does his damage centrally. That's where he does his damage. He has to stay there. I don't know. But whatever the formation is, you've got to get the best out of your best two players because they are our best chance of winning the league.
Will we? Not can we. Anybody can. Will we win the league in your estimation, Akhil?
No comments. That's about as close as I'll go to kind of, I'm seriously on that. You know,
Ooh, you're jittery.
Put it this way, we can win the league. Sorry?
Will. I didn't ask can.
Yeah, I don't know.
Clive.
I don't know.
Clive.
I don't think any of us can say we're going to win it. Right? And this is probably the first time I haven't thought we're going to win it. Ask me after Leicester, right? I think if you win 2 games in a row, and one of those top 2 teams going to take points of each other, I think it looks slightly different. And I think, you know, I don't want to Akhil made some points about confidence earlier on. I think we're a club and we're a group of players that do believe confidence is a key thing, very key for us. And if we do get a good 2 results and results work for us ahead, I think our confidence will come back very, very quickly. We could go on a run.
So basically, it's a moving target for you both. I want to thank you both for coming on. You can catch both of them on Twitter at Clive PAFC and at 10 Akhil. I'm Giles, formerly just a Rambler, but for reasons beyond my control, I'm now at Goonerman N5. Please subscribe to us on iTunes, hit the like and follow.
Are you the guy Twitter suspended for showing videos of goals?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, people can show like virtual porn videos on Twitter and not get reprimanded for it, but showing a couple of goals here and there, you know, you get locked off. So
I just wanted you to get your chance to get it off your chest.
Yeah. You catch us on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel, SoundCloud, and also at the website at thegoonerramble.com for a podcast and loads of fantastic blogs. We've actually now got a link up with tribal football. And also, Akhil, very quickly, do you want to plug the charity event that we've got coming up on?
Yeah, March? we've got a charity event on the 9th of March at the Tollington on Hornsey Road. It's going to be an Arsenal pub quiz. 7 in a team. Just tweet me if you want to get involved. There'll be Arsenal prizes, including signed merchandise from current and past players, a lot of beer, and it'll be fun.
So keep listening to the channel. As the weeks go by, you'll be hearing more and more on the channel. Guys, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Cheers.
And we'll see you again soon. That's been the Gooner Ramble podcast. Thank you and good night.